Hi everybody, and welcome to episode 128 of the I Rock Knits podcast. And I Rock is just Cori spelled backwards, and I knit in a rocker recliner. It's just started to rain a little bit outside, and boy do we need the rain. So I'm really thankful that it got kind of dark in the house, and this room has some lights here, and so I had some shadows going on, so I tried to fix that a little bit, but at least you'll be able to see a little better since I set up the lights in a different, they're on the sides, trying to brighten up the space a little bit. We have been getting some rain, and boy, have we needed it. I know there are areas of the country who don't want any more rain, and then there are areas of the country that are desperate for rain, but we really need it, so we will appreciate it. Lots of lawns dying, lots of flowers and plants that people planted dying, you know, gardens. It's just sad. You invest all that time and money in the spring, and then things just kind of dry up and shrivel away when you don't get rain. So I just want to welcome everyone today. Thank you so much for coming. I have a huge announcement today. I reached 5,000 subscribers, and it was so fulfilling. It just, you know, I've been working on Instagram to try to grow my following and grow my podcast so that more people see the things that I'm doing creatively and, you know, see my patterns. And it's hard. It's really hard. This next podcast, episode 129, will be my 5-year anniversary of podcasting. So I will have put out 129 episodes over the last 5 years, which is an average of about 26 episodes a year, every other year. I've tried to remain super consistent and not really taken much time off from podcasting. And so it, you know, eventually it pays off. Someone did ask me, you know, about whether or not you can make any money podcasting. And I have been podcasting this entire time, and I didn't start running ads right away, but now they're kind of forcing you to run at least ads at the beginning and at the end, not always in the middle. And I have made one check. I've gotten one check from them, and they only pay you when you make $100 in 5 years. And I have a lot of subscribers, and a lot of you watch, and the more you watch and the more you watch the ads, you know, the more I can make, but it's like a penny, right? It's like 2 pennies. So now I just got my check not very long ago, and I will now be working toward my second $100 check. You have to have hundreds of thousands of followers and views in order to like literally make money on YouTube. And that's not what it's about for me, but it does help pay for shipping for me and pay for some of my costs for prizes and just actually some of my time. So it is kind of nice to get a little bit of a financial reward. All of you have been really supportive in buying patterns and supporting me in that way too. So several Ko-fi donations, which is Ko-fi.com, and that is lovely. People send me $3 and I get myself a little Diet Coke. That's really nice too. So I want to thank those people. I usually thank you right over on the app, on the Ko-fi app, but I just want everyone to know that that is all greatly appreciated. You will have seen the featured patterns for the week at the beginning, and it's the whole Up North cabin set. And that is came out as a sock pattern, a textured worsted weight sock pattern using Kelborn Woolen's Lucky Tweed for a Down Syndrome International fundraiser a couple of years ago in February. And there were sock patterns that came out every day, and then all the proceeds were donated. And I was like the second earner with that pattern. I think I donated $2,000 some to Down Syndrome International, so that was lovely. But then I went ahead and published a hat to match, mittens, and a cowl to match that sock set. So you can get that whole set all together at a discounted rate, or you can just purchase the textured sock, the hat, the cowl, or the mittens. And that is a really fun, quick way to make a gift for someone. The hat's really cute. It has some just woven kind of embroidery stitches around the brim of the hat and the cuff of the socks, just to add a little fun and flair, but you don't have to add that. So yeah, I just wanted to feature that. We're almost to the end of all of my patterns. Right now, I think with all the sets combined and all of the patterns that I have written, so all together, I think there's 170 different items out there. I was updating for a new pattern release that I have happening tomorrow. And so I just wanted to kind of take a look, and I was like, wow, you've got a lot, because I put a lot of things together in sets at a discounted price. So that was kind of fun. On Etsy today, it said, you have uploaded your 170th listing. And I was like, wow, that's kind of crazy. Yeah, so congratulations to me on 5,000 subscribers. I should probably have a piece of cake later, or Milky Way. That's my candy bar of choice, which I'm really trying not to eat any of those these days, but I don't even go to the gas station anymore. Ross goes and picks up a soda for us so that I'm not tempted by anything in the candy aisle. So yeah, while we're on that subject, let me give you a little bit of an update on the celery juicing thing. I have stopped celery juicing this week. I got some great results from celery juicing. I felt like I was being very healthy, and it kind of took away some of my sugar cravings. And I did it for, oh my goodness, I'm gonna say at least a month, maybe 5 weeks. But I also have a very irritable tummy, and I was getting into this regular, constant, everyday issue. And I just can't have that. So I went back on my probiotics and stopped the celery for a while. And I'm working on getting things back to normal. I've had this for years. My mom has irritable bowel. My daughter has irritable bowel. I have irritable bowel. And it really is, it's really triggered by certain foods, and I usually know what they are. I really struggle to eat some salads with lettuce, things that they're, it happens to not happen as much at home, but when we eat out, the things that they're using to, preservatives they're using to wash lettuce and things. But yeah, and milk and dairy sometimes can really cause me to kind of go into a spiral. So I was very uncomfortable. So I just stopped it, and I hadn't said anything last time about what the process was. And I know some of you were looking into it. So I thought I should just mention it again here while I think about it. All right. What am I wearing today? Well, you're not going to see the best parts of this. So this is Mama Krista's. Here, I'll try to show you all the stripes. Mama Krista's Feather and Fan top. It is by Stephen B, and Mama Krista is his mother, and it's just almost like 2 rectangles of feather and fan, and then you stripe it. The pattern page has it all in blues, which is really pretty, and this is in a cotton yarn. And I just have a little orange t-shirt underneath. I wouldn't have to wear the t-shirt, but it is quite see-through where the holes, you know, where the holes are over my bra and stuff. So I just put a little t-shirt on underneath it. And I don't think I've ever worn it on the podcast. I know I've shared it on the podcast, and I wear it quite a bit in the summer. So I thought, oh, I'll just throw that on today. Oops, I made a mistake. Last week I had a question and I didn't give it credit to the right person. So the last time the question was from Chris Osborne, and I said it was from Pauly. And I have a number of guys that watch the video, and I don't know why I mixed that up. So sorry, guys. Pauly did not ask that question about yarn for this, you know, wearing in the South and what would be a first good cardigan to knit and that whole thing. So I just wanted to say that that was from Chris. And Chris is still having a GoFundMe fundraiser to try to purchase himself a new artificial leg. And that is over on the GoFundMe page under Chris Osborne. So if you have $1 or $2, you know, every little bit helps when you're in a situation like that. So he did have to have his leg amputated, and he is a long-time friend and viewer of the podcast. So I just do want to share that. I have a little don't tell my checkbook this week. Actually, a big don't tell my checkbook. I don't know why I was feeling like I needed to just buy a big sweater's quantity of yarn, but I did. I have so many sweaters to knit. And do I have time to knit for myself right now? Not a whole lot. But my husband and I are going on a trip to Maine, and we're leaving at the end of the month for 5 days and over Labor Day weekend. And so I thought, wouldn't it be fun to cast on a new sweater and take it on the plane, and then when we're driving, and that would just be kind of fun. It would make my day. Could I have picked any of the 6 dozen sweaters quantities that I have in my closet? Well, yes, I could, but I didn't. I've wanted to make this sweater for quite a while. It's called Here Comes the Sun. It is by, there's the color inspiration of the one that I liked. It's by Olga Putano, and so I tried to kind of go with those colors, and so I'm gonna do it in this really bright green with the yellow and the pink. And then I bought a blue instead of the cream. I just thought that that might be kind of nice to put the blue right there, but we'll see if I have enough contrast. But it is like daisy, kind of daisy flowers, and it's supposed to look like, you know, sunshine and daisies. Yeah, I'm very excited to cast that on. And so I bought this yarn from Leading Men Fiber Arts. They are one of my favorite indie yarn companies that's out there, because they have a magnificent color palette. You can go in and look at every single one of their colors, knit up in a swatch, and see what it looks like on their website. And then you can order it in any weight of yarn you want it. So I did not have to worry about them having this in stock. Some of this was dyed for me on the spot, and then they got it sent out. They had a winding service. I have a ball winder, but I didn't want to have to wind yarn before I leave on vacation. And I've been so busy with test knits for my new sweater, another new design. I have a shawl that I need to get designing. I have it in my head. It's just not written. And then this pattern collection coming out. And I just thought, you know what? They can wind it for me. That would be awesome. So like my bag is ready to go, right? Like my bag is just ready to go. I can cast on maybe the night before we leave, make sure I have the right needle sizes and gauge, and then I'm off. So Leading Men Fiber Arts, I would highly recommend. Okay, what you knitting, Cori? Well, I'm knitting samples and prototypes for designs that are coming out, but I cast on another ANT hat. That's the one with the kind of double brim, and then it has the reversible inside outside. Actually, I have it right. So it's this one that has like the double-sided reversible brim, and I knit this with the Mayak yarn, so it's so soft. But we decided to go to a movie, and we haven't been to a movie in forever. And I like to knit in the movies. And I didn't have anything on the needles that was just knit in the round stockinette. And so I thought, oh, quick cast something on. So we're on our way to the movie, and then I remembered that it has a provisional cast on. And I was like, ah, bummer. Do I have time to make a provisional cast on in the car? But I did. And I started knitting, and I realized that I probably was using a needle size too big for this fingering weight yarn, because I wasn't holding it with any mohair or anything. So I went down a needle size once I got home. So I knit, I don't know, a couple of inches. It was fine, whatever. It's gonna be the inside of the hat. This is just an old colorway that I used in something else. And it was an extra skein that was darker than all the rest. And so it was already wound. So I threw it in the bag. So I'm gonna add mohair to a more solid color, probably pink fingering, and then that will be the outside of the hat mostly. And then this band will just flip up, or this will be the outside, and the mohair band will be on the inside. So those few rows that I started that are a tiny bit bigger, I don't think they're gonna matter at all. But anyway, And so we went and saw Oppenheimer, which I do think I said on the last podcast. And then my daughter called last week and said, Mom, do you want to go to Barbie? And I was like, well, sure. Everybody's talking about it. And so I texted my husband and I said, Kylie wants to go to the Barbie movie with me. And he's like, oh, bummer. And I thought, I don't want to go see Mission Impossible or whatever is showing, one of those. I didn't want to see it. So I said, if you want to go to that while we go to Barbie, that's fine. And he's like, I'll go to Barbie. Everybody at work's talking about Barbie. So then Stevie came along too. I wasn't a big fan. I know everybody's talking about it being, you know, the great summer movie. It'll win awards or whatever, but I am not a fan of kind of that shtick humor, that silly kind of, I just don't laugh. I roll my eyes. I don't know what it is about my inner personality, but I just don't like that dumb slapstick humor stuff. I don't know. It was okay, but I didn't think it was, you know, the greatest thing ever. Like some people are going for a second and third time. And I guess I'm glad I saw it, but so I did a bunch more knitting on this. That's all that to say. We went and saw Barbie and I did not wear pink. People were dressing up. The two ladies that went in for us with their husbands, I mean, at least my age, full on pink high heels, pink purses. Their husbands, the one husband had on pink pants. I was like, wow, people are really all in on that. I mean, really all in. So anyway, I did get that cast on. Let's talk about my new blanket collection. It's finally coming out. I've been waiting and waiting. And this will go live on Monday, August 14th, 2023. The patterns will be there. The collection will be there. If you are a newsletter subscriber, you will receive a newsletter from me with a coupon code, with a discount. So I will tell all of you what those discount codes are as well, and I'll put them on the screen so that if you're watching this before the end of August, the discount codes will be good until then, and then the prices will go back up. So this is a 5-pattern blanket collection called Cover Me in Sunshine. That is a title that was given by Amy Grimaldi. I think that's her name. I've written down the other room. And so she will receive the entire collection from me because now it's finally ready to go out. So you can purchase the 5 patterns as one collection, or you can purchase each of them individually. And you can get them on Ravelry, on Etsy, on IROCKNITTERS.com, and then they will also be put up on Love Crafts this week. It always takes Love Crafts a little longer because they have to approve the patterns. And I can't put them live earlier than everything else goes live. So Love Crafts will also have. However, Knit Picks published the first pattern in the collection about 2 weeks ago. It's called A Candle Lights the Way, and it is on their website, and it can be bought and purchased as a kit. So you get the pattern and you can purchase the yarn in any size kit you want to make. Each of the patterns comes in 5 sizes. So you're actually getting 25 different pattern sizes with different textured stitches. So they go from baby, small, medium, which is a square. The medium is a square blanket, large and extra large. And then we're calling that, the baby is a stroller blanket. The small is a receiving blanket. The medium square is a lapgan. The throw is the large size, and the afghan is the extra large. So just to give you an idea. And the sizes run from about 23 by 30 inches, which is fairly small. Could go over like a car seat or lay on the floor for a baby, all the way up to 50 by 65. So giant blanket, and I do have one that's about that size, so I will be showing. The 5th blanket is laying here. I don't have any more mannequins, so I could only put 4 of them up for you right now. So you can go to knitpicks.com. I use Knit Picks Wool of the Andes Bulky for all 5 of these patterns because that price point brings the blanket down quite a bit. Now, Could you hold worsted double? Absolutely. Can you stripe this? Absolutely. I did have a tester stripe it and use scraps. Can you knit it in worsted? Absolutely. The blanket will just turn out smaller. So you can follow the pattern exactly and knit it in worsted weight. It just, if you don't get gauge, it'll turn out smaller. So you might want to cast on a bigger size. You can probably get gauge with Aran weight, and that all of these were knit with a US size 10 needle. Some of the testers had to use a 9 to get gauge, but, and so they work up really quickly. And that's the other thing about a blanket. I think most people think that it's a really big project to take on. And so if you can knit it on bulkier yarn on a size 10 needle, then it's going to work up much more quickly. I will often hear from people that large needles hurt their hands. And I do think that that's the way in which you're holding your yarn and your needles. You're changing the way you knit because the needles are bigger. And so yes, you might have to give yourself a little bit more of a rest, but think about the way in which you're gripping those bigger needles, and you can often alleviate some of that hand pain that you will have. I find that with cotton knitters too. Knitters will say, cotton hurts my hands. And it's because you're expecting the yarn to behave like a wool. And with the needles, you're expecting that big needle to behave like a small needle. And so you're using it in the same way, and you have to make your motion just a little bit bigger. And so you're almost fighting the big needle with your hands if you're not adjusting the, kind of the way you tension your needle in your hands and how big a motion that you make. So that might be helpful for some of you. Anyway, so I'm going to put up the first pattern here. It is called A Candle Lights the Way. I will put a picture in. I think this is probably going to be one of the most popular of all the patterns. Each of these 5 patterns has a unique border. Otherwise, I would say they're an advanced beginner knit. So if you want it to be super simple, you can always just rib your border, or you could do garter stitch on your border, or you could do seed stitch on your border. But I wanted the patterns to have something, some type of flavor, right? And so I went ahead and put a unique border stitch on each one of the blankets, and that should be pictured close up in each of the patterns. The pattern stitch is also charted for everyone in the pattern, but it's also written. This one is meant to be made to look like a little candle flame. And it is called a candle stitch. And so you've got some garter rows in here with just a little cross stitch every so often, where you're just doing a little cable stitch right there. And then the rest is stockinette. So every few rows you have something to do, and it's quite easy to do, to make it up. I'll try to hold this one up just so you can see how big it is. So this is the one that's in the picture on the pattern page, and it's a size 3 medium. And so here we go. It's this long. I can't lift this right shoulder up very well, but if I stretch it out and just lay my arm on the table, I'm not straightening out my left arm. So it's not that big, but it's perfect for laying over your lap. I mean, it's just absolutely perfect for that. Here is that top ribbing stitch. It's kind of an interesting slip stitch pattern. And then here is a close-up of that little cabled pattern. So that one's called A Candle Lights the Way. The second blanket pattern in this collection is called Always Snuggling. And my little notes say, an easy stitch pattern worked up in a heavier weight yarn provides the perfect last-minute quick knit for an upcoming baby shower or birth, but also makes a great gift for newlyweds or your person going off to college. Again, 5 sizes in this blanket, using the same size needle. And this is in this yellow one. So this is in Semolina colorway of Knit Picks Wool, the Andy Superwash. I did do 2 of the blankets in their non-superwash wool and 2 in their superwash, 3 in their superwash wool. Just as a variation, I thought it would be interesting to kind of see how the non-superwash wool would work up and whether or not it would not stretch out as much and not pill as much over time. It will be more challenging to wash or, not be able to dry, but I'm not a big spiller on my blankets, or I don't use them, like I wouldn't make it in non-superwash wool for like a baby, but for, for an adult or for laying out on my couch, I could certainly use it in a non-superwash wool. And then it's not treated and doesn't hurt the environment, etc., etc. So this stitch pattern is called double Andalusian stitch. It's very simple. It's just a 4-row repeat. And only one of those rows has an actual stitch pattern in it. The other 2 are knit and 1 is purl, so it's quite simple. This is the size medium. It is an actual square, so it's a perfect for a baby blanket. There is the kind of fun edge stitch on this one. It has kind of a crossover stitch, and you can kind of see what that texture pattern looks like. So that one's called Always Snuggling. It's very squishy. It has some density to it. None of them are really flat because I used, you know, like a flat, stretchy drapey because I used a textured stitch pattern in all of that. The next one is called Corner of the Sky, and this is that lovely red burgundy one over here, and I love that one. It's the only one that really has kind of a tiny bit of like a look of lace because there are columns of holes in it. But on this one, I wrote, in Native American traditions, a blanket is used to create and seal relationships. The firm pressure of a blanket activates the nervous system and releases serotonin, a chemical in the body that helps us feel calm and also helps to release melatonin, which is a natural sleep hormone that helps prepare us to sleep. And then I named this one Corner of the Sky because, as all of you know, I have a poncho out there named Pippin because I love the musical Pippin. It was the first musical I ever saw on Broadway, and I have a Pippin poncho out there. But one of the songs that I have on my phone that I love to listen to is called Corner of the Sky. And so the words to this song are written in the pattern. Rivers belong where they can ramble. Eagles belong where they can fly. I've got to be where my spirit can run free. Got to find my corner of the sky. And so I just love those lyrics. And I think that, you know, kids going off to college or people newlyweds getting married, finding their way in the world, maybe that would be kind of a symbolic kind of. Here is that pretty stitch pattern, Corner of the Sky, goes up toward the sky. It's got these beautiful little, and then it's just stockinette in between. And then here is, I'll show you this is the top edge stitch. So it runs right into those columns. And then the side stitch goes here. So you have this stitch pattern here, and it gets a little wider on the bottom where it runs into those columns. So that's a really interesting kind of fun. And the back side of this is also lovely. Like, it's not, you know, it's not bad. So I don't think that it has, so I wouldn't call it reversible, but it certainly doesn't have a backside that needs to be hidden on any of these blankets where you've just got like, and you don't have any long strands or anything like that. So this one is large. So we go from here all the way over to here. So if I stretch my arms out, I am almost, I just can't lift that right shoulder right now, you guys. So it's a little bit longer than my complete arm width going the short way, and then the long way, it's very long. Okay, so kind of 3 arm length. So that red sample is knit in Knit Picks Wool of the Andes in the colorway Cranberry in the size 4 large. So that's not the largest, that's the next to the largest. And in the patterns, I tell you how, and on the pattern pages, I tell you how many skeins of the Knit Picks yarn you need. And you usually need, it usually goes like 2, you need 2 to 3 skeins, you need 4 skeins, you need 6 skeins, you need 8 skeins, or you need 10 skeins for the giant ones. So still makes it pretty affordable with the Knit Picks yarns being fairly discounted in price. Then we have the Cozy Cuddle. This is probably the easiest one to knit. It's just got little squares all over it. This is worked in a bulky superwash, makes a lovely blanket in the smaller sizes to lay on the floor for baby's tummy time or throw over the top of a car seat to protect baby from the elements. And the larger sizes is great for snuggling up on the couch. Okay, we've got 5 sizes again, and this colorway is called Haze Heather, and it is Knit Picks Wool of the Andes Superwash. And it has just these little boxes every so often, which are just purl stitch. I had it hanging up backwards. So it's knit knit texture with just purl boxes in between. And this is the back side, you know, so it's fine on the back, but this is actually the front side. So when I folded it, I think I had it up there backwards. And then here is the ribbing. So kind of an interesting ribbing that goes around the blanket, kind of fun. So you do have, when you start off the pattern, you've got a little ribbing, you know, section to kind of learn how to do, but they're very simple. You know, they're usually just a couple row repeat. And then you get into the kind of the repetitious, you know, nature of knitting a blanket where you do the edge and then all the way across and back, and then you do the edge again. Yeah, so that's number 4. That's called Cozy Cuddle. And then the 5th blanket is called Felicitations. I love that word. It's one of the, I've always wanted to name a pattern Felicitations. And here is, I'll just lay it over the top here. And for those of you that don't know, felicitations are words that express praise for an achievement or good wishes on a special occasion. It's like a congratulations. So I thought that's just perfectly appropriate for somebody who's going to be gifted a blanket. And this is knit in fisherman's rib. And I love knitting fisherman's rib. I find it easier to do than actual brioche, but it kind of has that similar look. It's a very squishy, very stretchy material when you finish. And doing this striped with scraps would be just absolutely beautiful. Be just very fun to do. The sample was knit in the large, and the colorway is called Current. It's kind of a raspberry maroon color, quite a bit different than that red that's underneath there. In this particular blanket, you do a provisional cast on because you're going to do this beautiful I-cord edge as you work along. And so that's not gonna work. Okay, we just had a little puppy interruption. Ross brought him in and he heard his mama's voice, and so he was just crying. And so I will give you a little Chevy update in a little bit here. So you do a provisional cast on the bottom edge of this fisherman's rib, and you have an I-cord edge all the way around. But this, of all of them, is the thickest, warmest, most squishy of the entire bunch. So if I were gonna make a baby floor mat, this is the blanket that I would make. Something that you're gonna lay on the floor and put the baby on, because you could put them down on a little bit harder surface and it would be absolutely fine. This is such a just cushy, squishy. Okay, you can see how big this one is. It is a monster of a blanket. Here is the side edge and the bottom. So see how nicely it's finished off. And in that bulky weight yarn, it grew so quickly. You know, I did swatches when I started, and this one just worked up, you know, so quickly. It's the same repetitive stitch over and over, knit one row in the row below. But it does come in all 5 of those sizes, and this is the biggest one of the bunch. As you can see, it's gigantic. Laid it over the top. I thought that would kind of work. So this is called the Color Me in Sunshine blanket collection. You can get the entire collection on Ravelry. The final cost will be $20, but you can get $8 off through the end of you can use the code SUNSHINE to get the entire collection for just $12. So that's 5 patterns for just $12, and that's through the end of the month. If you just want to buy one of the patterns, any one of the 5 blankets, then you code blanket on any of the 5 patterns. So A Candle Lights the Way, Always Snuggling, Corner of the Sky, Cozy Cuddle, Felicitations. So I hope that you enjoy this collection. Knit Picks was kind of a goal of mine to get a pattern put out by them, and I was hoping that they would pick up all 5, but Knit Picks has a ton of blankets on their website, which I was kind of unaware of until I got started in this process. And so they are offering kits, and they have 16 colorways to choose from, and then you check which size blanket you want to make, and it will tell you how many skeins you need, and you can get the pattern, and you can make, you know, the small, the medium, the baby, the large, whatever size you want, and it it's like a kit maker. It's right on the Candle Lights the Way pattern page on Knit Picks. So it's only this one that is available over there. However, I feel like if you go in and you wanted to do a kit with any of these, you could buy a fairly similar amount of yarn. A couple of them used a tiny bit more, but you could look at your page and you can buy the Knit Picks yarn. You don't have to buy it as a kit, and you can get the pattern from me. So the pattern on their website is $6.99. The pattern on, where I'm selling it is $7. And I'm giving $2 off the pattern to start with by using that code BLANKET. So you'll only pay $5 for the pattern through the end of the month. So if you just want to pick up one of those just to support me, that would be great. What have I been watching? So we went to Oppenheimer and we went to Barbie after having not been to a movie in months and months. We couldn't even remember the last one we went to. Then on TV, because I stay up so late, I have been watching lots of TV and a few podcasts. I don't always list the podcasts because I tend to watch a lot of the same ones over and over again. But I watched Tiny Beautiful Things. I really enjoyed this. It's about a woman whose life is just not moving along where she wants it to be. She's always wanted to be a writer her entire life. And she gets offered this column kind of as a flippant aside, and it's a Dear Sugar column. And she starts writing this, and her life is a mess, but she's giving advice to other people. And yeah, it was a series. There were 8 episodes. I couldn't remember. There were 8 episodes, and I thought it was quite good. So I would recommend that one. Then I watched the 2nd season of Heartstopper. Matt told me right away that that show had come out, and it is about 2 boys in a prep school in England who are gay, and one of them is out and one of them is not, and so they have a kind of a secret relationship, and it's all about high school kids and what they're going through. And several of the kids in their circle are non-binary, and so it's a very forward thinking show that's talking about the actual awareness that some of the high school kids had. I know, many years ago, Kylie graduated in 2015. She had a number of students that were in relationships at her high school. And so that's very new for someone like me who went to school in 1979 and, graduated from high school. And oh gosh, it sounds so old, but I know it's not super old, but gosh, doesn't that sound like a long time ago? And I had a gay boy in my class, and that it was like a shocker, right? Like no one was talking about it. He wanted to bring another boy to the prom. I've told that whole story before, where we had bodyguards and people were going to kill him. And it was horrific. But it's just so different now. And I think that this show does a really good job of kind of showing kind of the insides of those young high school relationships and kids that are struggling with kind of their identity and whether or not they want to come out or don't want to come out. So really enjoyed that. Then I watched The Summer I Turned Pretty. I really enjoyed it at first. And then after a while, I was just kind of over it. It's 2 seasons, and it's this young girl who grows up going to this beautiful home on the Cape, and all her life, and it's her mom's best friend, and they have tons of money, and she and her brother stay, and there are 2 boys there, and she's always loved one of the boys, and he has never paid her any mind because she was this young kind of awkward girl. And then she comes back one summer and she has turned pretty, and the 2 boys kind of fight over her, and she can't decide which one she wants to be with. She goes back and forth and back and forth, and I think that those things can happen, but it gets a little overdone. You're just like, pick a boy, pick a boy. So it was easy to watch while I was knitting. I'm working on some design work, and so I just kind of like having something on in the background. Started watching these home remodel shows. I watched Hack Your Home on Netflix, I think, Netflix. And these people go in and put in like engineering electronics into homes, like walls that open up and close by themselves or tables that come up and down. It's very forward thinking. Some of those shows, I think, that they don't do the best job of remodeling a home always. I always feel like, are the people left with a little bit of a mess when this is all over? You know, the paint jobs aren't always super clean. But the concepts of this show were really interesting, like getting more out of the space that you have, because you could put in some of these hidden things that you can put away and bring back out. So yeah, that was it. So then I watched Instant Dream Home. And the premise of that is that it happens in 24 hours. And I don't know why it needs to happen in 24 hours, because they make so much trouble for themselves on 2 different occasions when they're doing an entire remodel in one day. It's pouring rain, right? So just shut it down and wait for dry weather, because they are tracking mud. They have, you know, drainage problems. But they're doing this for people, really well-deserving people, and the people don't know. So they've been nominated, and they go away for the day, and they come back, and their entire house is completely done. Like, they've pre-made the kitchens, and then they're sliding them into these homes. They're doing demo and install, all in 24 hours. The people leave at 7 in the morning and come home at 7 at night. I'm not real sure how realistic that is, that they actually get it done like that. There has to be some pre-planning when they get in the house. They act like there's not, but I did enjoy watching it. And then I started watching Tiny House Nation, where they build these tiny houses, because it came up right after that, and I didn't stop watching. So that remodel show. And I don't have a house to remodel. I don't have any desire to remodel. I would love to have a finished basement, because I have a very large home, long, and the whole basement is completely unfinished, because we don't need the space. There were only 3 of us that ever lived here. I've told that story before. We couldn't find a house when we were moving back. It was at the height of the housing market. And so this one just has a huge unfinished basement, and it gets kind of, you know, dusty, dirty, spider webby down there, and you have to go down and kind of, it's just storage. And I would love it if it were like kind of sheetrocked and finished out, but we're not gonna, yeah, we don't need, now Kylie's gone. We don't even go upstairs. Our master's on the 1st floor. You can all come stay. So I got extra bedrooms. But my husband loves the garage. And I love the house. I mean, I love the house. I love that everything's on one floor. My laundry's on this end, my master's on that end. It's, you know, that's lovely. But I'm not going to remodel my whole basement and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars or whatever it costs these days to do any of that type of work. You can't get anything, right? Like, you can't get lumber and doors and garage doors and all kinds of crazy stuff. Like, you're just paying premium dollars. So yeah, these shows are waiting on product, and then they have to, oh, we can't get it in time. You know, it's one of those. So anyway, I have a little something to show you here on things I saw on the internet. Oh, I have to go get the other one. So I saw these little gadgets, and I was like, oh, I have to have one of those. So this is like a little remote holder, and you just stick your remotes in there. And my remotes are always falling off the edge of the coffee table next to where I knit. And they either fall down in between the recliner and the coffee table, or the end table, or the other side of the end table. And they're slippery, and they slide off. So I was like, okay, this will be perfect, because then I can just stick them in there, and that will be much better. I will say it's a little tight, and that, you know, that fur will probably flatten out, and they'll get a little looser. But if you have bigger remotes than this, you'd probably need a bigger one. But then I bought one, and this one is a magnet on the bottom, because this is for my eyeglasses. Because I put my eyeglasses on my bedside table at night, and when I go to grab them in the morning, I can't tell you how many times I knock them off. So now I plug in my phone, I plug in my watch, and then I put my eyeglasses in my little holder, and it's soft on the inside. And, you know, sometimes they flip over, and then, you know, I don't want them to be laying face down. And so I thought, yeah. And so I got these on Amazon. This one was just kind of colorful. I thought that was kind of fun. So yeah, eyeglass holder, remote. I'm sure this is a remote holder too. But I can just hold just about anything. I don't think my phone would fit. Well, kind of. My phone kind of fits. It's stretched a little bit. But yeah, it would hold it up. So if you have a little bit smaller phone than I do, that would work, I guess, to hold your phone upright too. So yeah, I just thought I'd share it because I'm all about organizing, kind of keeping things organized and making things easier for myself. Okay, I have a little video to insert, which I was supposed to do last time and I forgot. It was on the notes and everything. So I have found a video on my phone of Matt knitting left-handed backwards. And so I'm going to insert that video that I took of him knitting many years ago. And he is just knitting the wrong direction from what most of us normally knit, because he's knitting left-handed and not from this way to this way, but this way to this way. So I thought, oh gosh, I'm going to show that to everyone. And then I forgot last time. So I will insert that, a picture of just Matt's hands, so you can all see kind of how he knits after him being on the podcast and talking about that a bit. And then my t-shirt from last week that had the saying on it that says, I read banned books in embroidery on the front. She has tons of different sayings. And the name of the Etsy shop is The Lady Doth. So The Lady Doth Protest, you know, William Shakespeare. It's the quote from that. And so she has some that say The Lady Doth Protest or The Lady Doth on them. She has like future Mrs. She has like the celebrate year for your birthday. So like she, you know, she could put on 1972 or so she does custom. And then she has some already out there that one says kind people are my kind of people. So she had a whole bunch and I forgot to link last time, and someone had to come in and ask me to link that Etsy shop. And I just had not gotten the link in there. So I put it in there, but then I thought, okay, now nobody knows where I got that t-shirt that was on my mannequin last time. And so the quality of the shirts is really nice. She has cashmere sweaters as well, and she will embroider on those. And I did go ahead and order a Pinky Swear t-shirt from her, which I will show you when it comes, because my new pattern is called Pinky Swear. And she has, it says Pinky Swear on the front, and then it's got 2 little fingers. So I'm really excited about that. We do a giveaway on this podcast most weeks. I have stuff to give away, and I do as well this week. But I'm struggling to get in touch with the people who win, because on YouTube, there's no way for me to contact you unless you go back and look at the comments that you've made to see that I've commented back to tell you, hey, you won a prize and you haven't gotten in touch. So I'm going to ask a favor of everyone. When you make your comment, will you please put your full name or your first, your Ravelry ID so that I can find you? Or would you go on Ravelry and friend me on Ravelry and make sure that your first name and last initial is in your name on Ravelry? That would be so helpful. I can't tell you how many times I've gone to my friends, looked to see if, let's just say, Melissa K is in my friends so that I can tell you that you won the prize so that I can get the prize out in the mail. So it would be very helpful to me if any of you that are commenting would go over and friend me on Ravelry, and then make sure that your first and last name or your first name and last initial is on. And also join my group on Ravelry, be in the IROCKNITTERS group. That would help me find you. I don't know. I'm just, you know, I'm sitting on some prizes, and once I get in touch with the people, they're like, oh, I haven't watched the last time's podcast, and I just want to get them out of my house. So it's all about me. It's all about organizing my house and keeping my desk a little clearer so that I can keep track of and I don't get 2 and 3 podcasts behind because I haven't sent out somebody's prize. I know it's your responsibility to watch, but some of you don't have a chance to watch to the very end and you don't look at the show notes. So I'm just trying to make it a little bit easier for myself. So go put your first name, your last name on your Ravelry ID, like, right? We're all out on the internet anyway, right? Okay. So those are the 3 special things I had to tell you. I have a thought of the week this week. There was a woman on the show that I was watching, the Instant Dream Makeover show, and she had lost her vision, and she was living with her daughter and son-in-law, and she had a brain tumor, and they redid the house to make it easier for her to get around, and then they redid the outside garden. And they're showing her this brand new house, and she has like light and dark vision, but she, I mean, really she can't see much. So they're explaining to her what everything looks like. And she says, silence is sacred. Maybe we can just stand in the silence for a minute. And they all just stood there, and she felt the house and felt the garden, right? Like it was, they were all so excited and hyped up, and the daughter-in-law and the son, like, right? And they're seeing everything, and she's, you know, feeling of the stuff, and she's smelling the garden, and they put in everything that she can, and they put in different surfaces in the garden. So as she's walking, she can tell the difference between the stones and the tile, like the granite or whatever they, you know, so she can know what part of the garden she's in. It was really interesting. But then she says, you know, silence is sacred. Maybe we could just stand in the silence. Oh, it was just a lovely moment that I don't think we often do very much, right? Like we just don't say. Can we just be silent for a minute? Wow, you know, just kind of still yourself. Which leads me right into a Cori story. I am still doctoring for my jaw. I am still biting my mouth continually, almost all day, every day. I'm still wearing a mouth guard every day, all day. And it's not getting any better. I have a sore. My mouth is off center, doesn't feel right. They have refused to acknowledge that there was any harm done, that I came in with my jaw being off, and she didn't, you know, she didn't do the damage. Of course, they're going to say that. I did talk to a lawyer and to see if I could get compensation for my bills, which have added up significantly because I've seen several specialists, and that's not an option unless you have a long-term, forever injury in Minnesota. And I did that due diligence anyway. So I'm waiting to get in to see a neurologist on the 25th of August because they want to rule out that I don't have anything going on. But I have been going to the fibromyalgia, well, the pain clinic, the Twin Cities pain clinic for my fibromyalgia. And I started that in the spring, and I talked about it here. And the nurse practitioner that was seeing me went on maternity leave, but set me up with physical therapy. And I am seeing a physical therapist unlike anyone I have ever met with before. She is phenomenal. And it's all about my brain and not about my body. It's really interesting. And I don't know how much I want to get into about this, but I'm like super high energy. I talk a ton, talk really fast. I'm always kind of amped up, and I am an extrovert. So I talk to people, and I get really, and I'm working on trying to be just a little more calm. And she was telling me about this constantly being this state of fight or flight where you're just on edge all the time. And that I'm hypermobile, just very common in people who have autoimmune and fibromyalgia. So, you know, my elbows bend backwards and my knees and everything. I'm super flexible, which is why I got into gymnastics. And because then people say to you, wow, you're so flexible, you should be a gymnast, right? You know, it's one of those people that could do the splits very young, right? And then that kind of perpetuates itself into the things that you choose to do because of the way your body is built. And I am just learning so much from this PT person about my mouth and trying to like calm my energy and the way I sit, because I sit like this. This is how I sit. I sit forward, leaning in. I look at my computer like this, and I never just like sit back on my bottom with my shoulders down and back. Like I'm always kind of up. I'm chest forward, butt out. I arch my back a little bit, as a gymnast would do. And immediately she's noticing these things. And she noticed that one of my legs is much stronger than the other. And then I started thinking about my day and the way I walk, and I step up. I always step up with my left foot first, and I always step down with my left foot first. I step into my car with my left foot, even though I'm on the right side, because my right side is weaker. And it was just like imperceptible to me. I hadn't really noticed it. But my GP and my PT are both saying that they think that part of my mouth issue is anxiety, and that having this trauma from my mouth, having this major trauma that happened to me where I cried and I was, you know, physically disfigured for a period of time, kind of brings up a reaction of all past traumas that you've ever had. And that rings so true for me. You know, I've had multiple surgeries. I had a C. diff back in the day where I was sick for 9 months. I've had a trauma from way back in my life. And so that brings up all this old trauma, and then you get anxiety. And I said, I don't have anxiety. I don't worry about things. Go with the flow. Like, my mom has anxiety. Kylie has some anxiety. My nephew, like, I know what anxiety looks like. I'm not a worrier. I don't fret about things. My mother-in-law was kind of a anxiety person. And then the PT said to me, but do you feel anxious? I was like, oh, I'm anxious all the time. Like, I always feel like I got to get more done, like I'm a type A, like I'm on a treadmill, like I'm always behind on my design work, and I have 100 things to do every day. And then that fit for me, totally fit for me. It's not anxiety in the sense of I'm worried about the outside world, or I'm worried about things that are happening, but I have this sense of heightened like electricity that's anxious. It was so eye-opening. So I don't know if that will fit for anybody else except me, but it may. So I thought, I'm kind of an open book, a little overshare. I will just share. So she's working with me on like grounding my feet in the ground and not leaning forward on my toes, standing outside and walking outside barefoot on the ground, and just for the earth and that grounding, and using my right leg to do more activities and working on sitting, because I tend to sit left. Like, she notices all these little things, right? And to just sit back and put my shoulders down. Now this shoulder is lower a lot these days because I can't hold it up. And so my shirts are often falling off this shoulder, and I'm getting that fixed. But it just rang so true. And she said, you might want to go back into counseling or therapy and talk about, and I said, you know, I've been doing therapy since I was 29 when I was first diagnosed with depression. And I've done it a number of times since, and I'm not opposed to it, but I just wasn't thinking that I needed to do it. And she said, but you had this like major trauma to your face, and it brings up, you know, any other trauma your body has ever been through. And then now you have this lip biting thing that's happening constantly throughout the day, and you have no control over it, even though it's causing you pain. It was just so interesting to look at it from like a completely different perspective, right? Where you're like looking at, you know, something that hurts on your body and an injury that might occur because you have other things going on, right? Like, oh gosh, it's all a little mental, you know, woo-woo, but she has me doing, you know, breathing into my belly and, you know, strengthening my quads, but not like, I'm not weightlifting. She told me to quit walking. She goes, quit walking. You're out there trying to get back up to walking, you know, 3 miles in 20 minutes and whatever. She's like, You're killing yourself. It's hurting you. It's hurting your body. You can't, you can't keep up the next day because we're just talking about so much. And I said, but I got to get back into whatever fighting shape and from my hip and all that. And she said, but you have to give yourself some grace. You're fighting multiple body replacements and you're never going to walk off the weight, because that's my goal, right? Is to walk off the weight. And she said, you'll never walk enough in your condition, like with what you have, with your bad foot, to walk off the weight. It was, it was hard to hear, like really hard to hear, right? Because let's be honest, it is all about the food, but it's also about my gut. My gut health is involved here. So just really interesting, all that to say. Just thought I would share what I have going on and the things I'm learning. I've just been so aware. When I sit down now and when I get into my car and it's ironic how much I was unaware, very unaware. Let's talk about the audiobooks of the week very quickly. I have 4. And then I have another little Cori story before the giveaway. Okay, so the first book I read was called Barefoot by Ellen Hildebrandt. I've read several things by her now. I do always really enjoy them. This one is about 3 women who head to Nantucket Island. A little bit of a cautionary. One of the women has cancer and she has small children. One of the women is in a bad relationship with her husband and is finding herself pregnant, and they meet this young man who helps them at the airport to get to their house. And then it's these, sister and friend trying to get through the summer living on Nantucket and the struggles that they have to kind of find themselves and figure out what to do next. Very good. Highly recommend. It was quite good. And then I read The Invisible Husband of Frick Island, and that is by Colleen Oakley, and that is really a great story. So this woman lives on Frick Island. It's off the coast of Maryland. It's a fictional island, but it's based on a true island where there are like 60 people that live there. And this man is a fisherman. They go crabbing and stuff, and he has lost at sea. And he comes back to visit her in her house, and she sees him and talks to him. And so then the islanders kind of pretend that he's there too, because she's got so much grief over it. But then it tells the story of all the other islanders, and then this young man who's a reporter who comes out to the island to report on something and then figures out that this is happening and that the island is going along with this invisible husband situation. And there's kind of a mystery surrounding all of that. And it has a lovely redeeming ending. It's not, this whole thing, it's not supernatural, it's not fantasy, anything like that. It really, it goes to the kind of the spirit of the human spirit, and so highly recommend. Then I read Expelled, and that's by James Patterson, and I don't know, because I worked with so many high school kids that got expelled, I thought, oh, I should read that. It's very short. It was only like 6 hours. But there's this boy, and his Twitter account gets hacked, and he gets blamed for an incident that's happening to these high school kids. And there's a situation with nudity and a football player and the mascot, and a video that goes live from this boy's Twitter feed. And he claims his innocence throughout, but all of them get expelled, along with this girl who gets expelled for stealing some money out of the pop machines. And so they're expelled 2 weeks before the end of the year. And so they've got this time on their hands. And so they kind of decide to become friends, and they're not friends. None of them are alike. And it's kind of Breakfast Clubby in that way, right? But they're going to try to prove their innocence in this situation. And then everything goes horribly wrong. And it's interesting premise, and the kids all have parental issues and trouble. Like there are no great redeeming adults in the novel, which sometimes I have a hard time with. You know, just nobody's watching the kids. Nobody's there for the, I mean, the one boy's father dies, and so his mother's working all the time. So she just can't be there for him, to try to, she's just trying to make ends meet. And yeah, so it's, you know, it's not in a terrible way, but like, yeah, it's that premise. So Expelled. And then the last one I read is called The Daydreams by Laura Hankin. This is like, back in the day, which would have been a really popular program that everyone watched for several years, and then it kind of imploded, right? So, you know, think, what did we watch back in the day? I don't even know, like maybe 90210, or even like, not Sex in the City, they're too old, but like a bunch of teens do this show called Daydreams. And they're on for several seasons, and they become the hot celebrities, and then something terrible happens at the end of the second season, and their lives kind of blow up, and they all kind of blow apart. And now 13 years later, the guy who of course rose to the top, and the three women are all two who have very much struggled, are kind of introduced to the thought of doing a reunion show, and they have reasons to come back to try to prove things, and so they come back together in a very awkward way, and all the secrets come out of what had happened in the past, and who thought what, and so it's kind of convoluted, and like what really happened, and yeah, it was very interesting. I liked it. It's that whole Hollywood, young kids in Hollywood, and what they're exposed to and how they're treated, and yeah, so very good. Okay, let's do the giveaway for this week. Last week you told me what was on your bucket list, and boy, was that fun to listen to things that you guys want to do. Some of you want to go travel. People want to do some really special things. It was really fun to read that thread. I would highly recommend going in and reading those comments and seeing what people kind of want to do. But I did the pickawinner.co that picks comments off of YouTube, and then I put in the word bucket, and there were 50 some comments that had the word bucket in them for bucket list. And the skein of post self-striping yarn is going to Kathy Mansure. And Kathy wrote, my bucket list includes another visit to the Louvre to see their collection of Rembrandts. The exhibit was closed for maintenance when I was there. I also want to visit Stonehenge. I feel a sense of awe just looking at photos, and I can't imagine what it would feel like being there. So thanks, Kathy, for sharing your bucket list item, and I will put this in the mail to you. Email me your address, please, or send it via Instagram or Ravelry, which are both IROCKKNITS, or my email, which is irocknits@gmail.com. For next week, I have a stack of books that were donated to the podcast, and so I'm going to give some books away. And so I have 5 books that are, I'm going to kind of divide them into 5s, and I'll send them out book rate, so they will come to you on the slow boat. But the first one is For the Love of Knitting. So this is a beautiful hardcover book. It is a celebration of the knitter's art, and I own that book already. This is Jameson's Shetland knitting book. This one is Folk Shawls. This is a great book, and I've knit 2 shawls out of this already, and I've shared them both on the podcast. So my Stora Demune is out of this, as well as my, what's it called? It's my pocket shawl, my Aran pocket shawl, the one that has the pocket. So this is a really great book by Cheryl Oberly. Then we have 55 Christmas Balls to Knit by Arnie and Carlos. And then the last one is just a really fun book to look through. It is Knit Your Own Norwegian Sweaters from Dale Yarn Company. And so it's got a couple of little old pamphlets in it. It is really fun to look through. So those 5 books are going to be the giveaway for next time's podcast. And your comment is going to be whether or not you prefer to be the passenger or the driver, and why in a car. Would you rather ride or drive? And so I want you to put in your comment, because I can only search for one word in the comments. So I want you to put the word car. So write, in a car, I would rather, or if I'm going to be in a car, something with the word car, just write the word car for the comments so that I don't have to search through for the people who are going to tell me whether or not they want to be the passenger or the driver and why. Okay. I have added a couple of classes to my teaching schedule. So I'm going to be teaching here in August, next Friday on the 18th in Stillwater, my Fixing Mistakes class. I don't know if that one's full. It might be. But then I'm also going to teach virtually how to use Ravelry like a pro. So if you want to sign up for that one, that is on Wednesday, August 23rd. It's on Zoom, and it's from 5 to 8 Central Standard Time. And then I added that class as an in-person class at Stephen B on September 14th. And I don't think you have to take that class in person, but it's always fun to take a class in person. So I'm teaching that Ravelry class at Stephen B in September, because I taught it for them maybe in June, and the class was full. I have one more Cori stories to tell you about. Last night, my husband and I went to the show Into the Woods at the Guthrie Theater in downtown Minneapolis. And so we went out to dinner first, and we kind of had a little disagreement about what time we needed to leave and what time we needed to go, because I'm a get there early person and Ross doesn't want to sit and wait for it to start. So I'm thinking we should get there, you know, by 7. It starts at 7:30. And Ross wants to go eat out at a place that he really likes, which is, it's north of us, but on the west. And I said, that's way too far. We're going in the wrong direction. We need to go, we need to be in. So we changed the reservation to be on 394 for anyone who knows this Twin Cities area. And we went to eat, and our food was a little slow, but we were there at 5:30. And so we got out of there at, 6:30, and then we have to drive downtown. And we're headed into downtown, and we take the Washington Avenue exit, and we can see that there are tons of people, like tons of people around. And there's a guy out in the street saying, parking $40. And I rolled my eyes. I was like, you gotta be kidding. What is going on downtown that the event parking, people are charging $40? Well, in the long run, I would have rather have pulled into that lot in the first 30 seconds of our drive and paid the $40. It was a disaster. It was the Ed Sheeran concert at US Bank Stadium, which is just up the road from the Guthrie, and we didn't know. I mean, we were not thinking that there would be something like that going on. And of course, they're starting at the same time, and there are thousands and thousands of people downtown, and we can't find parking. And it's ticking, it's 7 o'clock, it's 7:10, it's 7:15, and we are driving, and we can't get anywhere because everyone's looking for parking. The lines, all the lots say they're full. We try to go back to the $40 lot, because we purchased these good seat tickets, and now we can't get there. We can't get there in time. We can't get, and Ross is like, we're just gonna have to go further and further away. Well, we had planned to park on the ramp across the street. We've been down there before. We should have gone earlier, but I did not wear the right shoes. So with my bad foot, I have to wear good shoes with good arch. But I just put on some cute sandals because I had on a nice little dress, and we're gonna literally park across the street. Well, Ross has to keep going further and further away. And I said, you need to drop me off. And he said, I don't want to drop you off in downtown Minneapolis with all these people. Number one, I'll never find you, but downtown Minneapolis has been a little less safe, right? So he just wants to stay with me. And then I get irritated because then I'm like, find somewhere to park. He can't, right? And so we finally get down, we go down further and further, and we finally get in a ramp, and we go up, 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 up. We're on the top floor of this ramp, and we're blocks away. And we're in the far corner of the ramp, and there's stairs to go down, 6 flights of stairs to go down. which I can do in my sweatpants, in my workout sports bra, and my tennis shoes, but not in my good sandals and my dress, right? Like, my foot is bad, my knee and hip are not great, and so I have to go down. And Ross is like, well, we can go to the elevators. I'm like, they're on the far other side of this giant parking lot, and we need to be at the Guthrie. How far away are we? And he's like, I'm not really sure. It's like 7:18. Starts at 7:30. And no one's still finding parking. And we're trying to hurry. I was almost in tears. My foot hurt, my hip hurt. I'm like running on concrete, right? Trying to get, because I'm not sure they're gonna let us in. Like with theater, I don't know that they're gonna let you in. But I also know that there are hundreds and hundreds of other people who are having the exact same problem. So we go flying in at 7:29, and then we have to go up flights to the 4th and 5th floors, because that's where the theater is. And it's a huge escalator, right? It's a huge escalator that goes up, 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 up. And there's tons of people trying to get on it. So you're just like, hurry people, right? And we get to the top, and Ross says, I have to go to the bathroom. And I'm like, I knew you would have to, right? Like we drank at dinner, right? Like I can hold forever, but I knew he couldn't. And I was just like, we're not gonna make it in the door. He's like, you go, I'll meet you in there. So I get to the door, and the guy says, do you want me to sit? I said, no, I don't want everyone to have to stand up until my husband comes. He's going to the bathroom. And he goes, well, they're holding the show for 4 minutes. And I'm like, oh, so I go running down back out the hall, down, flying into the women's bathroom, call Ross. I said, Ross, I'm going to the bathroom too. And I said, they're holding the show for 4 minutes. 4 minutes. Well, I think they ended up holding it for a little bit longer, maybe 6. I cannot tell you how many people came in late. We sat down, the lights went down. Like, we made it with just enough time. I said to Ross, I'm gonna have the biggest blisters on my feet. I'm sweating, I'm hot, you know, because I don't run anymore. Not with 2 knee replacements and a hip, and not in sandals, like with ankle strap sandals. They weren't a high heel, but it was a disaster. Like, and then the whole time, at first, we were thinking it was the Vikings that were playing. We're like, oh, the Vikings must have a preseason game. That's what this is. That's why there's such a problem. And then we realized what it actually was, is that it was Ed Sheeran, and that we hadn't even paid any attention to checking ahead of time. It was so dumb. And so because they held the show got out later. And then we're trying to hurry back to Ross said, I don't think I can come pick you up. Like, by the time I get there and try to come back, the traffic's going to be terrible. And I was like, yeah, I know. So I said, I'll hoof it, but I can't go up 6 flights of stairs at this point. And so then we went to the elevator. We went up, we walked all the way across back. And then like within, I don't know, 5 minutes of us starting to go down, we start to see the people from the concert coming. I'm like, you got to get out of this ramp before all those people come. Well, here they were, and now they're in the ramp trying to start to get out, and you know, it's going to be a bottleneck, which is fine. We can sit and wait. We're in the car now. I took my shoes off, but it takes forever to get out of downtown when it's like that. And the traffic wasn't moving. So we're going down, we're coming out of the parking ramp. We turn left. We have like a half a block to get onto Washington. And what pulls up behind us? A fire truck. And it's right behind our car, and Ross can't go anywhere. He's trying to get out into the intersection, but the light, you know, has to change. And this woman comes walking in front. She's just like walking in front. Ross is like, lady, how can you not hear that, right? She's like, well, I'm a pedestrian, and you know, oh, it was just, we were so tense. We were so tense on the way in, and then we were tense on the way out. It's frustrating. The show was really good, but it was, we will not make that mistake again. We will check, and we will go early. Hey everybody, I just had to jump back in here because I forgot to give you the Chevy update, and I'm just about to go outside and take Chevy for a walk, but it's misting, and so my hair got all wet. Who cares? He's doing better. The GRD came back negative. You can hear him. He's ready to go. The urinary tract infection seems to be gone. He still doesn't empty his bladder every time he goes. He often goes several times. But that could just be marking, but his pink eye conjunctivitis was not gone. And so we saw the vet last week on Thursday, and she gave us another bottle of drops to put in his eyes, and they're much better. They've cleared up quite a bit. So we think we're on the mend. I have a few videos to just pop in here with a picture to show you. He weighs 49 pounds. Okay, I think that's all I have this week. I'm just wrapping it up here. Yeah, I think that's what I'm sharing. The blanket pattern is live. Next up will be the Great Bear Hood and the Pinky Swear mitts. Those are coming up. I almost finished the mitten pattern, then I found a big mistake on the thumb gusset. I was ready to send it to testers in my tech editor, and the thumb gusset was wrong, so I have to rip back. Aww. Not what I needed. Yeah, I just didn't do enough increases. So anyway, but that's the life of a designer. It was good to see everybody. Talk to all of you. Come in for your hug, for your crooked hug. I love you all. Got weird nail polish, pink and orange this week. Not sure I love it. It's okay. It goes with everything I wear, but it's not my favorite. Other than that, go buy my pattern collection, will you? Will you pause the video and go buy my pattern collection? Nothing would make me happier than if you would pick up my 5 blanket pattern collection. Keep it colorful. Love you all. Bye.